listener production.
Hey, Bension Siebert here with The Briefing. Many of us have well and truly moved on from COVID-19, or at least vaccines have allowed us to get on with normal life despite the virus continuing to circulate. But there's a big group of people who can't because they're living it every day. Scientists believe at least 65 million people worldwide have or have had long COVID. A recent study out of WA found that about 20% of people infected during one of the state's COVID waves still had fatigue, memory loss, and trouble with concentration 3 months after they first became sick. Another study out of Queensland last month found long COVID's effects are the same as longer-term effects of other respiratory illnesses like the flu. A parliamentary inquiry last year heard that sufferers often report feeling lonely, stigmatised and unsupported by medical professionals. A number of specialists in long COVID now operate across Australia, but getting access to them can be hard and also expensive. Today we hear from Dr Margaret Van Heekeren, a 59-year-old mum of two, a former journalist and uni lecturer who lives in Sydney. She's living with long COVID, and here she is speaking with The Briefing's Sacha Barbour Gatt.
Margaret, thanks so much for speaking to us on The Briefing today. Explain to us how you found out that you had long COVID.
It took a while for it to realise, in a way. I had COVID in May last year for about 5 days. I was just terrible, like many people are. Then I started to get a bit better and that was fine, returned to normal life, wasn't feeling fantastic. But then the more I did, the worse I started to feel and thought, okay, this is going on a bit long. And technically, you don't have long COVID until the symptoms are still there after 3 months. And, I was talking to people who'd had symptoms for 2 weeks or a month, and I thought, okay, that's all right. Then I got to the 3 months mark and I was still getting, it was pretty bad by this time. And, finally the realisation came. I guess, obviously, I didn't want to have long COVID, but it became too obvious that was the situation.
Sure. So explain to us how it changed your life. What are the symptoms that you have been experiencing since the middle of last year, and how has it affected your day-to-day?
It's completely changed my life. At my very worst, I can't get from my bed to the shower. There's over 270 symptoms that have been identified with long COVID. Some of them are very common, and I do have 2 of the very common ones. One of those is a continual headache. It's like I have a vice on my head that just, the worse I get, it tightens and tightens. And then brain fog, it's really, cognitive issues you start to, as I get worse, I find it harder to find the right word. I have to sort of talk my brain through thinking things. An example was last year. I was just heating some milk in a cup for a microwave for a coffee, and it started overflowing. The moment you see that, you normally just hit the microwave, turned off, but I was looking at it thinking, I've got a problem here. What do I do about it? And my brain it didn't have that immediate reaction just to turn it off. And so it's things like that comes and goes. It's a bit like having a mobile phone that, if your phone's on 75%, yeah, great. But once it's down to 15%, it starts to lose charge more quickly, and then it takes longer to charge. And once once it's flat, it takes even longer to charge. And it's exactly how our bodies seem to be working under long COVID.
You spoke there about your work, and I want to understand how it's felt for you to have to, initially you tried to push through the long COVID to try and continue teaching. Explain to me how it's felt having to dramatically scale back what is your livelihood.
For the first sort of 6 weeks, I kept trying to push through with work, but was just impossible. Then I went to see my GP. She recommended that I just take complete rest, and it's still one of the key things is absolute rest in recovery. But, I had classes that I had to take, and then she agreed that for my mental health, my sense of well-being, that, it would be good if I did continue some work. So what I ended up arranging is that I reduced my work to 7.5 hours a week, and I just did what I could via computer from my bed. So Yeah, and then again this year I've reduced because I had got better over the summer in a complete break, went back to work, thought I was going to be fine, really excited, started getting into it, and then my body just started giving up again the more I was exerting with work. So I've now reduced to 15 hours a week, and as part of that I go in on a Monday and I give my lecture. I can't catch public transport in anymore because that's so much exertion required by the time I actually get into the lecture theatre. So fortunately, my husband now drops me at the door of the lecture theatre. So other people, your carers or, your family, your friends are so affected as well. I complete the lecture. I'll usually have a meeting or two with people. I'm on campus. And then Tuesday is a very full-on bed day as I recover from that.
Look, there was a parliamentary inquiry last year into long COVID and it acknowledged its impacts, but also, specified that the medical field is still pretty unsure as to how to deal with it. Now, you've recently gotten in to see a long COVID specialist, which I didn't even know existed. How has that process been for you? Has it been successful? And how have ordinary members of the medical field, I'm talking GPs or nurses, how have they responded to your condition?
I've been very fortunate with my GP. I'm a member of a Facebook group called the Australian Long COVID Community, and there are many stories on there where people are effectively being gaslighted by their GPs, saying that it's all in their mind, and these are people who, like me, have, had really vibrant lives. Many are much younger than me. They have children. Why exactly anybody would want to stop all that just to lie in bed? It's certainly not in your mind. It's just what it has to be. But I've been very fortunate. My GP has been fantastic. And from the very first visit, she was open. Look, I don't know about this, because it's so new. She'd already had a couple of other patients with long COVID. One, in fact, was a 16-year-old girl who had been a rep sport player. And she had at that stage been in bed for 2 years, had seen every specialist under the sun. And this happens as well, like from, often neurologists, other well-known medical specialists. So my doctor was incredibly understanding and then supportive of me getting more as expert as it can be at this early stage of this condition through a clinic. Now, the government clinics through all state and federal, yes, the inquiry did acknowledge long COVID, but there's nowhere near enough resources that are going in to support people. So people like myself are having to turn to the private system, and there's a clinic that is set up as telehealth, which is fantastic for long COVID people because it's really hard to get anywhere. They're based in Melbourne called Clinic 19. They're a group of varying specialists, but they've dedicated this clinic to long COVID patients. And, so they've got the time to be, up with the latest research into, how to treat symptoms. I signed up in August last year and was told there was a 3-month waiting list. Fair enough. It ended up being 6 months, and I know now that the wait time is 12 months is what they're saying.
Wow.
So that's an incredibly long time until you can see somebody. This is so isolating. As much as I have wonderful family and friends, as much as they try and understand, they can't fully. So as a result of the first appointment, we're trying various things. For example, I'm wearing compression tights. The idea behind that is they're believing that long COVID affects the passage of oxygen through the body and slows it down. So the compression tights help with that. Advised to try and drink up to 4 litres of water a day. And there's a medication that I'm trying as well.
I think that's the thing. We forget the pandemic only first started 4 years ago. We are still very early on in the process of learning about long COVID. Before I let you go, what do you wish ordinary people knew about long COVID? Are you frustrated at all by people not caring about getting a COVID infection? Or do you think that there's enough support from, workplaces and public spaces in helping people with long COVID access those things?
In general, no. There is not enough awareness of and appreciation and understanding of long COVID as a life-changing condition that, you would not wish on your worst enemy. There are still people who have not left their house 2-3 years after attracting COVID. There's research now showing that the more times that you get COVID, you're increasing your chances of long COVID. The rate of long COVID is estimated at between 3 to 10% of the population. This is a huge number of people, and people at all stages of their lives, many of them at working age, who are then having to either reduce work or leave work completely. So it's having a huge effect on the economy as well. We need more money put into it, so there's a huge economic cost. All of this has to be not just acknowledged, as the inquiry has done, much more proactive resourcing is required.
Margaret, thank you for sharing your story with us. I'm so sorry you're going through what you are going through. It sounds like, though, that you're in the right place, seeing a specialist. We wish you all the best for your recovery and hope it is very soon.
Thank you very much.
Margaret Van Heekeren there, speaking with The Briefing's Sacha Barbour Gatt. That's it for The Briefing today. Catch us back in your feed at 6 tomorrow morning, where we'll be covering nuclear waste and whether it has any place in Australia. In the meantime, if you like what we do here at The Briefing, hit follow so you never miss an episode, and tell 100 of your closest friends about the show. I'm Benzion Siebert. Catch you next time.